As you can tell from the thumbnail, today's video is all about homes, detached homes selling for less than $1 million in Durham Region. Before we get into it, know that house in the thumbnail didn't sell for less than $1 million, at least I don't know if it did. I don't even think it's in Durham Region. It's just a nice looking home that I thought, that would be shocking if that thing sold for less than $1 million. This week's update is going to be a little different. I'm not focusing so much on the sales numbers, listing numbers, days on market. I think I've really illustrated in the past how those numbers just keep dropping throughout the summer. Days on market keeps going up. We don't need to talk about that too much anymore. What I do want to talk about is prices and the percentage of homes that are selling for less than $1 million in Durham Region. So before we get any further, I want you to leave in the comments below how many homes, what percentage of detached homes in Durham Region, at least in Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, and Oshawa, do you think are selling for less than $1 million in August 2022? I've also loved the support in the channel so far. Thank you for the comments, for the subscriptions, all that good stuff. If you are enjoying the content that I put out each and every week, keeping you up to date just on what is happening in Durham Region real estate, I ask that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you don't miss a video, and please send it to a friend who's interested in learning more about Durham Region real estate, whether that's just for fun or if they're looking to move in or out of the area. I'll also warn you, I'm going to be hopping all over the screen today, just different charts, different layouts. I'll be all over the place. So to start, let's go to our Durham detached median sale prices. So for the week, you can see across the top here just what homes sold for. Surprisingly coming in pretty low is Whitby at $887,500 this week, but our 5-week rolling averages, Pickering just under $1.1 million, Ajax right around $1.03 million, Whitby $1.065 million, and Oshawa with our detached price floor at $780,000. I want you to take a look at this chart, and I know we've talked about Pickering and the couple little bumps that they've had. You're gonna notice one here in April, and you're gonna notice one here in June. So the next graph we get into is the detached sales by price bracket, and I just want you to notice when there's a spike in homes selling for over $1.5 million and when they are, just relative to this chart. So here is Pickering by price bracket. And for the first few graphs, Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby, the lightest green is less than $1 million. The kind of middle green is between 1 and 1.5 million. And the darkest green is over $1.5 million. So the peak of the Pickering market was back in January, and the median sale price for a detached home back then was just over $1.5 million. And you could see only 2.27% of homes sold for less than $1 million back in January, and almost 57% sold for over 1.5, which makes sense. That's the peak of the market. A big time majority of the homes were selling for over that $1.5 million mark. So you'll notice that this segment here, this dark green line, slowly tapered off, but then like you mentioned, it peaked back up again in April, which kind of represents that little hump that we saw in the April data. Went way down in May, and then again that little peak that we saw in June is explained here. But what I want you to focus on now is, as we talked about, our 5-week rolling average for that median sale price is just under $1.1 million in Pickering, and you can see the big drastic change. Over 37% of detached homes are selling for less than $1 million in Pickering now, and just over 7% are selling for over 1.5 million. Here's the same exercise for Ajax. Ajax's peak was different than Pickering's. The median detached prices peaked in February of this year at 1.445 million. So you can see just over 4% of homes selling for less than $1 million detached in February, and just over 40% selling for over 1.5 million. And just take note here, again, 55% of homes selling between 1 and 1.5. If we fast forward to August now, we can see what our median price is doing at this point in time. Way less listings selling for over 1.5, about the same selling in that 1 to 1.5 range at just over 52%. And again, under $1 million, not quite half the detached listings are selling for under $1 million, but 45, almost 46% are selling for under that $1 million mark now. On to Whitby now, and it's the same peak that we saw in Ajax. February peak, $1.5 million was the median price for a detached home in February, down to $1.065 in August. And again, only 2% of listings sold for less than $1 million back in February, whereas we're up to 41, just over 41% in August. Lastly, we will take a look at Oshawa, and Oshawa is special. It gets an extra bar. We broke it down even further to that less than $749K. But you can see in February, If you're looking under $1 million, so it's going to be these two bars here, it was about 29% of listings selling for less than $1 million, whereas now you're getting, almost 40% of listings selling for less than $750,000 and almost 80% of listings selling for less than $1 million. Just getting back to normal. I think that when you think GTA, detached home under $1 million, Oshawa was always a place that came up, probably even the most recently. Sought after just because it is right on the 401 still, fairly close proximity to Toronto. So it's nice to kind of see this trend being realized, being returned to once again. So let me know what you think. Do you think we will see percentages of homes under $1 million increasing even more? Do you think we've hit close to a bottom of the market? Before we get into the rest of the stats, just let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. We won't go too in depth on the rest of the sale prices, but here are our townhomes, our freehold towns. Interesting this week, Oshawa, townhomes over the last 5 weeks on average are selling for more than you're seeing in Whitby. So everybody's kind of bunched in together, Pickering and Ajax around that 845 to 850 number, and Whitby and Oshawa 822, 828. They're kind of in that same bracket as well. For our semi-detached homes, here is our 5-week rolling averages. Whitby at 923,000, Ajax at 916,000, Pickering at 844,000, and Oshawa, where we do see the most semi-detached activity, kind of continuing that gradual trend downwards, down to around $670,000 on average over the last 5 weeks. And then lastly, our condos. As usual, we are seeing Ajax, Whitby, and Pickering kind of bunched in together on the condo side of things, with Oshawa holding up the price floor at $540,000 over the past 5 weeks. What is going on with showing activity? Well, this is around the time of year that we'd expect to see showings picking back up, maybe even offer activity. We're getting into the fall market seasonally. You would expect a quieter summer like we have seen. This summer's been extraordinarily slow. And I'd expect even this last week of August that we're heading into now, people taking off early for the Labor Day long weekend. We may see even a bit more of a slowdown would be my prediction in these showing numbers, and then a pick back up once we get into our September stats as we go into next month. Offer side, Pickering, not much has changed over the last week to last month. Oshawa, same thing. Whitby, we talked about how this kind of came out of the gates like gangbusters in August, and it's been slowing down as the month has gone on, but still at a little bit more of a clip than we saw last month in terms of offers per new listing. Then Ajax, big boom in offers this past week to bring up their offers per new listing to just over 1, so higher than last month. And again, like I said, increasing in pace as we go. Expect to see these numbers pick up even a little more. I'd say at least in offer volume and showing volume will definitely pick up, but listing volume will also pick up. So whether or not the per new listing number changes too much, we'll have to see, but we'll keep an eye on those things. And this week we kind of went in reverse. We usually start with the rates. We are wrapping up with the rates. The only reason is there's not much change really in terms of the big 5 banks that we look at. Scotiabank made a couple moves. Their variable rate and their fixed rate are both down 0.1% from where they were last week at this time. I'll talk about it once again next week, but September 7th is the next big day. Bank of Canada making their next rate announcements. We'll have to keep an eye on what their decision is. I think that right now projections are for another 75 basis point. I did see a CIBC article come out saying they would potentially stop the rate hiking cycle in September. That was a CIBC strategist though, that's not from the Bank of Canada. So kind of take that headline with a grain of salt. We're not really going to know what is going on until we get more inflation prints in the future, just to kind of see how well these rate hikes are doing with bringing down inflation, because we have to remember that that is the end goal of the Bank of Canada, to bring inflation back down to a reasonable number. If kind of housing is affordability is a casualty of that, it's just, I think, what we're going to have to deal with going forward for a little bit of time. So that's everything for this week. I hope you enjoyed. If you've stuck around for this long, thank you so much for sticking it out. Please, once again, toss a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and please turn those notifications on so you don't miss any of this Durham Region real estate info that I bring each and every week. One more comment question. Is there another area in Durham Region that you are interested in that I am not covering right now? I know Clarington, Bowmanville are blowing up. Uxbridge is always a popular spot as well, Port Perry even. Would you like me to do a couple one-off videos on any of these areas? Please let me know in the comments below what you'd be interested in, and I'm happy to bring you that sort of content. I will speak to you one more time before the long weekend. The plan is to put another video out next week, as usually scheduled. We'll do our big monthly wrap after the long weekend in September, but If you don't catch my next video, which I hope you do, please tune back in. Have a great long weekend with the family. Until we see each other again, stay safe and cheers.